how do you like the new meal format? I really like it. I tried it on now. Listen, Charles, I only did a 3-night cruise. And so it's small sample size. But when I did it on Liberty, I really liked it. I thought it was great. I like the fact that it was night. It was about less than 2 hours, but not like 45 minutes, like 90 minutes, 110 minutes, something like that. I thought it was just the right length. I love the food. It was hot. Some new choices in there. Lots of favorites still there. I really liked it quite a bit. And we're going to try the dining room on Wonder of the Seas for a 7-night cruise to truly get the full experience there. I'm looking forward to it. 40 days till Anthem of the Seas. What kind of screening, if any, do they do upon check-in? Via the app or for our cruise, pick the time and it says something about screening. Yeah. So Loretta, the day before your cruise in the app, there will be a health questionnaire. They're going to ask some basic questions like, have you been coughing or have flu-like symptoms? Are you pregnant? Couple, I forgot the basic questions to ensure that if you are not feeling well, that you obviously they wouldn't allow you to cruise or at least require some follow-up on that. But you'll get that again about 24 hours before the cruise via the Royal Caribbean app. Or if you don't do it there, no worries. When you get to the check-in terminal, they'll ask you those same questions again. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. Just depends on when you want to do it right there. Sailing on Quantum Class, Odyssey of the Seas, in November. Will I be disappointed the promenade isn't a promenade, but instead an esplanade? I don't think so. It's different, certainly, and you will notice some nuances. I think I certainly prefer the promenade, but I like the esplanade. And on Odyssey of the Seas, it's got what you're usually used to on it, just a different layout. There's still the pub. You've got shopping. You've got boleros. There's actually still a cafe promenade, believe it or not. It's more similar than not. I think I like the flow and the look better of the cavernous promenade, but that's just me. But no, I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think you'll just say like, oh, this is nice, but maybe you'll come away with the same reaction that I did. Where do you keep your passport, cash, etc. while in port? In my pockets. When I'm in port, and again, this is in the Caribbean. I know in Europe, pickpocketing is a different issue, and there are different strategies for that. But in the Caribbean, we'll either keep our passports either in my pocket. More likely, my wife usually brings a bag, and there's a zipper pocket in there. We'll keep the passports in there, some cash, especially like once we're going, like once we get to the beach or whatever, we'll do that, right? But yeah, I'm just keep it out of plain sight. Zippers, and of course, keep it within eyesight. Don't go too far away. Don't stray from it. Those kinds of things, definitely the way to go. Is Allure of the Seas a good ship? It's a great ship. There's not one Royal Caribbean cruise ship not worth going on. The question with all cruise ships is, of course, well, what are you looking for in that ship, and what are you looking for? What amenities do you really want, really need, and which ones you don't really care about? That's more a question for you than it is for me to tell you that it is or is not a great ship. I know my check-in day, but I'm curious what info is really needed to be checked in so that I can pick an early boarding time. Actually, John, I'm going to stop you right there. You don't have to do all the other stuff right away anyway. If you use the Royal Caribbean app, not the website, the app, you can check in and pick a check-in time rather without doing everything else. It's only in the app. And if you go through the website, it makes you do everything. But you can easily go in the app, pick a check-in time, and then get the check-in time, and then come back and do the rest of the stuff later on. You could still do all that stuff, and it's a good idea. Make sure you remember to do so. But if you do it via the app, you don't have to do all the other information initially. You can pick and cherry pick the check-in time, and then come back and do the rest later. What are your must-try drinks, especially restaurants, on Anthem? Love the content. Thank you. Wonderland and Chops. Two good choices right there. A little different from each other. So I'd say those are two specialty restaurants that are worthwhile. Must-try drinks, Lava Flow with Kraken rum, Miami Vice, and I'm trying to think of something different than those two drinks. Those are like, I don't say heavy drink. Oh, BBC. That's still a heavy drink, but they'll like that as well. If I didn't prepay gratuities, how will that work at the end of the trip? Basically, it's pretty easy. If you didn't do it, HC, every day of your cruise, you will get an automatic charge to your account. So if you were to look at the Royal Caribbean app, you'll see that every day you get charged the gratuities automatically. So there's nothing extra to do. Basically, by prepaying them, you literally prepay them before the cruise begins. Otherwise, it just hits your account at the end of the cruise. You owe the amount there. Are there certain ships that don't have kids? Yeah, Virgin Voyage cruise ships. Not Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean has, and always will be a family cruise line. So typically, if you go on longer sailings, like longer than 10 nights, you'll probably have much less kids on board. But Royal Caribbean is a family cruise line. They've always been that way. So there's going to be kids on board. Same as baby boomers, same as Gen Zers, Gen Xers, whatever I am. We had this whole conversation about what I am, whatever it is. That's what I like about roller cribbing. There's a good mix. It doesn't all skew in one age. You get a good mix of people on board, maybe unlike other cruise lines. But if you're looking for an adult-only cruise line, Kathy, you're gonna have to go with like Virgin Voyage or something like that. Any thoughts on air to sea? If you're doing an international, or they're all international cruises. If you're doing a cruise out, not in, I don't know, assuming you live in the U.S., Aaron, but if you're flying to your cruise that's outside your home country, in this case the U.S., I think there's a good argument there to be made. But for domestic air travel, like Aaron, if you live in the U.S. and you're cruising out of the U.S., even if it's like L.A. and you live on the East Coast, I think it's just easier, better to just fly a U.S. airline on your book your air travel on your own. I don't think it's worthwhile necessarily for to use air to sea for domestic, but that's usually that's my thought process anyway. Can you use onboard credit to pay gratuities? Only if you don't prepay them, CB, and they are so they accrue every day of your cruise. Then basically the end of your cruise, CB, as you may or may not know, you'll have a chart, you'll have all your gratuity charges, and then you'll also have your onboard gratuity to offset that. Again, with onboard credit, you don't apply it towards a specific charge. You're not like, hey, Royal Caribbean, see this $100, please use it towards that. It's just a credit against your account. So it just offsets whatever purchases you have. If you have more, if you charge more than you have onboard credit, then you owe money into the cruise, that kind of a thing. What is the downside of having a ship near the bow of a room near the bow of the ship? Generally, you can have a little more sensation of movement over there. I would also say on some ships, when they use the bow thrusters, like in the morning to like dock, you get that like it feels like an earthquake sign, kind of. I don't want to like scare you; it's not that bad, but it may wake you up. But it's usually short lived. I've heard some chatter about it being harder to get seats from some of the shows these days. Any advice on booking shows? You can only book shows, of course, on Oasis and Quantum Clashes about 30 days before your cruise. My best advice is just, Jason, is just try to book your reservations as early as you can. Like when we have Wonder the Seas coming up in March, and reservations opened for that last week. And my wife, to her credit, was like, "Hey, it's open," and she booked it right away. We had no problems getting any of those shows. I think the issue is, Jason, folks who don't know that or are oblivious to it or whatever, and they try to do it later on or not at all, and that can be an issue. But here's what I'm going to tell you, Jason. Let's assume the worst. You miss out. You can't get any reservations. I'm going to tell you it doesn't matter. And what I mean by that is that in almost every situation I've ever been to on any roller coaster cruise ship, there's a standby line. If you wait in the standby line, you're almost always able to get in. A lot of people make reservations that don't show up for their reservations later on, but show up to the venue about 15 or 20 minutes early. There'll be a standby line. Wait over there. I would be shocked if you couldn't get in because people are very flaky when it comes to those kinds of things. So it's good for you. Ever paid for the thermal suite 7-day pass? I think we've done it once. We've done it at least once. We had to have done it at least once. The thing with the thermal spa is it really just kind of boils down to you taking the effort to get in there because the thermal spa pass is a section of the spa you can go to anytime you want, but it's up to you to make the time to go there. So if you only go once, you have to pay for the entire duration of the cruise. So if you only go once, probably not worthwhile. But if you go there every day, it can absolutely be worth it. So just a question for you to make it worthwhile. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll talk again very soon right here on YouTube. Bye, everybody.